Coming up on TekThing, secure backups for your Android gear, AMD's new B450 chipset, Zoom's H1n handy recorder, Malwarebytes built the browser extension, and we're loading the van for DEF CON. It's all coming up on TekThing. Thank you, patrons. Without your support via patreon.com/TekThing, we wouldn't be able to make the show for you every week. Join the crew that makes TekThing possible at patreon.com/TekThing. And a big thank you to our patrons Mike J, Nick B, Joe K, and Jason. Seriously, join the crew that makes TekThing possible at patreon.com/TekThing.
I'm Shannon Morse.
And I'm Patrick Norton.
And this is TekThing, where we have something useful in every single show.
So much excitement.
So much excitement. We're going to DEF CON in just a couple of days. I'm super stoked, but more on that in a little while.
Well, by the time you see this,
yeah.
I should be on the plane.
Yes.
You should be in Las Vegas.
I'll be in Vegas.
And we'll talk about the hangout we're having
in fact,
later on in the show.
I think this is scheduled to go out right when I'm giving my keynote at Diana Initiative on Thursday morning.
Cool.
Ooh,
so exciting.
Hopefully it goes well.
So remember we talked last week about the Ryzen 2 processors?
Yeah.
I was all excited about it. You can tell because I'm talking really fast about it.
Woo!
So the day after we recorded that show, AMD announced or released the B450, a new chipset for Ryzen. They got a nice write-up on PC Per on that one.
Cool.
And of course, like I said, that happened the day after we talked about it. Short version is it's more affordable than the X470, which kind of came out with Ryzen 2 CPUs. 450 includes AMD's Store MI caching on SSD for performance, basically. And I gotta say the 450 is probably the new sweet spot for most of the people out there in the audience. It's an enthusiast chipset, and it is probably the way to go if you don't plan on running multiple GPUs.
Okay.
And
so this is not what I would want.
No, when are you gonna run GPUs, multiple GPUs? So, I mean, here, watch this. Watch Shannon's desire for, watch Shannon's face. Get a close-up of Shannon's face. More power versus more affordability. Because when I say sweet spot, you're thinking like $70 for these motherboards, maybe $120 in the high end versus like $180.
Usually.
So, but that was one of their big selling points when they were talking about Core i5 versus Ryzen 5 because of Z370s. I think they're averaging like $106, at least according to AMD. And
Not
AMD
bad.
expects their motherboards to average about $70.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
okay.
you know, they were like Core i5 8600K with motherboard $351. Ryzen 5 2400G, which is the low-end Ryzen, with an AMD B450 motherboard, like $224.
Wow.
So,
Jeez.
we shall see.
Yes, we will. Well, speaking of Ryzen 2, we got an email from Mark. Mark writes, "Hello, Shannon and Patrick. My 2010 iMac died about a month ago, and I need a new Windows computer. I had a super hard time with choosing a processor, Intel or AMD. I went with an Intel Core i5 8600 over the Ryzen 5 2600. I used to do 3D modeling as a hobby, not anymore, and I used to have a hobby of video editing, not anymore. I don't plan on doing either of these anytime soon, and I'm getting back into gaming. I don't even use Handbrake all that much either. I make one-to-one rips of my movies and TV shows. I looked at all of the software I use regularly, and none of them use multiple threads. I do use Photoshop, which is more RAM than CPU intensive. Did I make the mistake of choosing the Core i5 over the Ryzen 5? Thanks from Mark in Winnipeg." Ooh, what say you, Patrick?
Well, okay, so first of all, your operating system is multi-threaded,
Yeah.
right? And it will do things like assign this single-thread application and this single-thread application each their own core, right? So even if you're using primarily like single-core applications, you're still using multi-threading. If you'd chosen the Ryzen, here's the thing, you'd have a lot more CPU power to throw at the things you don't do anymore, like 3D modeling and video editing and Handbrake. And in a few years, you'd have more cores to throw at games, assuming games continue to finally start using more and more cores. So, you know, I hate to leave power on the table, right?
Yeah.
Because, $20 less and more powerful, no brainer. But seriously, you got a Core i5, and hey, the joy of upgrading a 7-year-old machine is that anything is so much faster.
Everything's going to be good at that point.
Yeah, I mean, a friend of mine, he's like, my MacBook's finally dead.
Yeah.
You know, what should I buy? And I'm like, what MacBook are you replacing? And he's like, a 2010 MacBook. And I'm like, anything you buy is going to seem so much faster.
Yeah, seriously.
It's the glory of waiting 5 or 7 years between upgrades.
That's why it takes me a while to do a new build, because everything is going to be awesome.
Oh, just a little farther down the future.
Yeah.
Speaking of regrets, actually Ryan from PC Per and I were talking about this on Twitch last week. might be time to not buy a new GPU.
Really?
Yeah. So expect Nvidia to drop some new GPUs with a new architecture soon, like maybe August 20th. That's the rumor. The rumors, by the way, in fact, this is a rumored picture of a rumored Nvidia GTX 1180 PCB up on the Inquirer.net. The rumors are 1170, or maybe it's the 2070 and the 1180, or maybe it's the 2080. They are starting to pick up speed. In fact, WCCFTECH has what they claim are 1170 alleged. I like saying alleged benchmarks. But if these alleged benchmarks are legit, this is a GTX 1170, and this is a GTX 1080 Ti. It has been a long time since Nvidia's did a big architecture upgrade.
Yeah.
So if you can wait to buy a new GPU, you might want to wait. Especially if you're looking at this sort of it would suck to buy an 1180 Ti, a 1080 Ti. 1080. You can currently buy a 1080 Ti. It would suck to buy a 1080 Ti and then find that there's going to be like a new 1180 that is significantly faster.
Yeah.
Because I'm looking at this, and you know, that's 50% faster than a 1070 Ti. That's a this is 1070, this is 1170, and this is 1080.
Should
so
I
I would expect
my 1080 that I bought like 2 months ago, 3 months ago, and I just installed in my computer?
5 months ago. You bought that in like...
it was a while back. It was like March, and I just installed it.
At this point, I would wait for the 1080 prices to drop, and then you can run two. Then you have a reason to buy the X470 chipset and run dual GPUs. Because GPUs scale better than they used to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh my goodness.
Well, moving on, we also got a tweet. So this tweet is from Dan about defragging drives. He says, should I disable Windows disk optimization and defrag my Lenovo Yoga 730? Has an SSD, and I don't want to wear out the drive. I
have good news.
What's your good news?
Windows 10 should be smart enough to know that you have an HD or an SSD, a hard drive, a rotating hard drive, or an SSD, a solid state drive, and it will run trim instead of defragging if you have an SSD. So leave it on. I was laughing because I'm like, where's Malventano? And he's like, yeah, basically that's it. So if you go into the File Explorer, I do it this way because I've been doing it this way forever. And you go into Properties, and you go into Tools, and Optimize and Defragment Drive. And so, look, media type, solid state drive. And when you hit optimize, it does not defrag, it runs trim. I do this, it's set, it should automate, Windows probably has it automatically set to do it weekly.
Yeah.
I will often do additional, well, they call it optimizations, I'm gonna call it trim. If I've like backed off like 80 gigabytes of files, or if I've done a bunch of video editing or moved stuff back and forth, I will almost automatically stop and do a trim on the drive, just because as you load the drive, because I'll often get within like 50, 100, 300 megabytes of filling the drive, and then we'll back a whole bunch of stuff off on it, and then we'll load it back up again. I run trim all the time, but I used to be obsessed with defrag because it was free, and it would almost invariably, Windows would be like, your hard drive is 0.01% defragged. You don't need to defrag. And I'd mash my finger on the button to defrag the drive and go get a cup of coffee and come back, and my system would feel better. Probably total bias confirmation and the placebo effect, but it would feel faster, and I would compute with less rage. So trim, and if you have an older, which won't work, of course, on a rotating hard drive, in which case defrag. And Windows 10 is like, we're doing this automatically. Just let us handle it.
That's great. I'm glad Windows 10 does that automatically, so it saves me the hassle of even having to think about it, ever.
It's nice.
It is nice.
Windows is nice. It's a nice operating system.
I want to go that far.
Well, it's simpler. How's that?
If you have any questions that you want to throw at us so we can do another little speed round like this, definitely let us know. You can email us, ask@tekthing.com, or you can tweet at TekThing, at Patrick Norton, and at Snubs.
And I'm making Muppet face. Javier's got a security question he tweeted out. I hope to see a review of the new Malwarebytes browser extension pretty soon. It looks promising.
That it does. Yes.
Why?
Yes, it does.
Why?
So this is actually brand new. Malwarebytes just introduced this very recently, back in July. So you can find it over in the Chrome web store. But Malwarebytes web browser extension is currently in beta. It's available on Chrome and Firefox, and it's quoted as providing a faster and safer web browsing experience by blocking malicious sites and filtering out things like ads and like pop-ups. So supposedly it also blocks fake news content content, clickbait, browser cryptocurrency miners, so that's pretty cool, and other malicious files like that. The extension itself is smart in that it's ever evolving based on threat behavior patterns, not hard-coded lists of known intrusive malware. So that's kind of cool and very different from what you can sometimes find in a lot of extensions.
Having complicated thoughts, because essentially it's an ad blocker.
Yep.
With intelligence, that's artificial intelligence using heuristic analysis, which much like antivirus tools on your desktop may or may not work in the way they think they work.
And that's the thing to consider. So, and that's one of the things that I'll definitely get into with this, because I tried it out and I did notice a few of those things. So according to Malwarebytes, it's also the first to heuristically ID and block tech support scams that lock up your browser page, which is also really cool. And OMG, your computer is at risk, call us immediately. So you remember all those pop-ups that you would sometimes get, or like your parents might get at home, those things are going to be blocked. So it can also block PUPs, and PUPs, P-U-P, are potentially unwanted programs like toolbars and pop-ups that might unwanted download on your computer, so it'll block those too.
So I got to ask, you load this, and instead of it's a plugin, but it sounds like they're like, we don't use lists, we use heuristic analysis. It makes me feel like there's a bunch of stuff running in that plugin. Did your machine slow down? Did the browser slow down?
My machine didn't slow down at all. I actually noticed that the browser gets a little bit faster because it is doing so much blocking, but it is in beta, again, like I mentioned previously, and Malwarebytes has said that most of the feedback they've gotten, because they have gotten some negative feedback about it, is false positives. It is really, really aggressive, and that's the problem with it trying to do this AI, artificial intelligence machine learning, is that it's really, really aggressive in its blocking.
So the upside is that it could adapt faster than the giant tables of lists, but the giant tables of lists are because 11 million people told AdBlocker that this is a POS, stop it, stop it, stop it.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I did do a little bit of a demo that I want to show you. So if you check out my computer over here, I have it installed. It's this little M up here, and I currently have it blocking malware and scams and ads and clickbait. Now, if you do want to continue blocking all of these things, but you want to customize which sites it does, or maybe do a whitelist, you can go down here into the settings and choose the protection options, continue enabling protection, but then you can turn specific things off. Like say it's blocking some kind of download that it thinks is a PUP, but is actually a download that you really want, then you can disable that. Or say that there is some kind of advertising or tracker on a website that you really want to support, so you don't mind if they have ads on that site, then you could disable that, like YouTube, for example, whatever it might be. And then you can go over to your allow list, and this is where you choose whatever sites that you want to whitelist. So for example, if you want to whitelist YouTube, then you could put it under here in allowed domains, and then it won't block any of the ads on YouTube, and so on and so forth. So I did test this out running the application, or running the extension, as well as not running the extension in a separate browser window. So first I went over to InfoWars, which I realize is a very controversial website, but it is a really great example for this. So with Malwarebytes, it automatically gives you a little pop-up says warning clickbait, and then it says this website may contain clickbait, and then it gives you a definition of what it is, whose main purpose is to attract attention and deceive visitors, blah, blah, blah. I realize everybody has different opinions on InfoWars, but this is just purely an example, so don't flame me. But if I go over here to a website where Malwarebytes is not running, this is what you would normally see if you go over to that website. Same thing with Forbes. So I have Forbes running, and the first thing you see when you open Forbes is a gigantic ad, and you have to scroll down to get to the actual content. Well, if I'm running Malwarebytes, it doesn't show the ad at all, and the content is right there above the fold, if you know journalism wording. So it's right there for me and ready to go. I also noticed the same thing going on with Malwarebytes with the beta extension. When I went to this website called thumbnailsaver.com, I believe it's called. I have it over here. It's thumbnailsave.com. So this is apparently a phishing website that I found on Google. I should probably report it to Google so it's not in their their searches, but they blocked it because it's phishing. So it's doing a phishing attempt. And this is something that I recently found out when I was trying to download a thumbnail, which turns out you can just download thumbnails straight from YouTube. because you put it in here and you click a submit, and then it's like, do you want to download these 13 different apps so that we can track everything that's going on your computer? So Malwarebytes is working. It's doing the job. It's definitely blocking things, but it is highly, highly aggressive. So my usual apps like Privacy Badger and AdBlock, I use uBlock Origin sometimes, those do not have the capabilities built in to block things like phishing or clickbait. As you can see, they still show up. So it works. It works very well, but you might find it to be way too aggressive in its blocking. So customization, I think, is the key. I would definitely give it a try, and I think that I'm going to keep it installed. But if it continues blocking websites that I find that I need as a hacker, as somebody who needs to get into websites that might have like malware analysis on their site or something like that, and it would probably block that, then I might have to turn it off, or I might have to whitelist those sites. But that's something I'm very aware of now that I've tested it out a little bit. So it's fun.
Ladies and gentlemen, we love your questions. We love your suggestions. We love to hear what you're curious about. Email us, ask@TekThing.com. Shannon lives for the security questions.
I do.
Lives.
Yes. Javier, thank you so much for that question. I hope it answered it for you, and I hope that you find Malwarebytes browser extension beta very good for your needs. If not, if you find something else that's better, definitely let me know. Ask@TekThing.com or @Snubs on Twitter.
Just stop using the web. Stop using
entirely.
email. You don't have to worry about being phished.
There you go.
Yeah. Hey, do us a favor, tweet @TekThing, @Snubs, or @Patrick Norton, or just email ask@TekThing.com. And a big shout out to our patrons at patreon.com/TekThing. You pay the bills, you make the show possible, you feed my kids. I thank you. Join the crew that makes TekThing happen at patreon.com/TekThing. And thank you for supporting the show. Jeff's had some big issues with his Android phone. Let us see if we can help. He wrote in, "Hello! I recently had a small problem with an Android update and ended up having to wipe my phone storage, and with it all of my files, phone numbers, SMS messages, my whole life." I would call that big, but not small, but this man's chill. Local backups are fine, but this is a manual process, and I don't do that nearly often enough. In my case, I lost about 1 month of data. I'd like to use an automated backup system which stores the backup off the device so cloudy, but all the Android solutions I've seen are unencrypted. I just don't want to hand strangers some of my most personal data. What's the best way to set up an automatic encrypted backup of an Android device? I'd prefer to use free software as that's very important to me. Jeff in San Diego, California.
Thank you, Jeff. You look excited.
No, I'm still stuck at like Jeff's like a small problem. I lost everything. Like
no.
You're chill.
Well, at least you're thinking about backups. So I hope that I have a good solution for you. So first off, while your current built-in cloud backups with Android and with Google are not encrypted with Google, come Android 9 Pie, P for Pie, those backups are going to be encrypted, and they will require a passcode to unlock. So this is a technique that is called client-side secret, and this is what they're going to be doing, where you hold the key to unlocking your encrypted data locally. So that means that when your data is transferred up to the cloud, it's going to be encrypted, and only you will be able to unlock it with your passphrase. Which also means that if you get a new phone, it's going to be really easy to go ahead and get that encrypted backup and put it on a brand new phone.
Just don't lose the passphrase.
Yeah, just don't lose your passphrase, or like, I don't know, stick it somewhere, stick it on a Post-it in a safe. So I have more good news. Android 9P is also rolling out to Pixel phones as of Monday. So this is super exciting too. Unfortunately, it has not come to my phone yet, and I did check this morning as of time of recording. While I have not received my over-the-air update yet, I should have it by recording time next week, hopefully, so that I'll be able to give you a review and tell you a little bit more about the new security features, which I'm very excited about.
Unfortunately, the vast majority of you out there using Android, including myself, will probably never see this Pi update, or will see it in the distant future.
I'm actually glad that you asked about that, because according to Google, Sony Mobile, Xiaomi, HMD Global, Oppo, Vivo, OnePlus, and Essential, as well as all qualifying Android One devices, will receive this update by the end of this fall. So it sounds like Google is trying to work a little bit harder with some of the third-party Android phone manufacturers to make sure that they're getting those updates sooner, which is also better for the entire marketplace because it keeps more people secure.
Didn't hear Samsung on that list.
No,
Didn't hear
Samsung.
LG on that list.
Nope.
Although OnePlus is good. In any case, we were talking about secure backups.
So once that becomes available on your phone, I would highly recommend just going into your settings, clicking on Google, choosing backup, and then customizing what things are backed up. So this can include app data, device settings, call history, photos and videos, which by the way, if you use a Pixel phone, those are backed up automatically and unlimited, which is great, and SMS texts, although not MMS, so you would have to do those manually. And this is automated as well for everything except for those MMS, which is great because you don't even have to think about it. It's just automatically backed up to Google. So yay for encrypted backups automatically. That would be perfect for you, especially because it's free. Comes with the operating system.
Always nice.
That's wonderful.
So just buy a new phone.
Now, unfortunately, it is very hard to find an encrypted, free backup solution for Android if you can't wait for Android P. I did find a couple of different options. This first one is called G Cloud Backup. This one only comes with 1 gig for free, but you can earn more gigs, up to 10 gigs, by downloading other applications, or you can also pay a monthly fee. And their monthly fee has different pricing plans depending on how many gigs you need, but they do have an unlimited gig monthly plan, which is $3.99 monthly. So that's not too bad. Now, if you are okay with paying just 1 fee out the door and that is all you ever have to pay, My Backup Pro is another option that I found for you, which does offer those encrypted backups as well. And this one is $7. It's $6.99 currently. However, apparently it goes on sale sometimes. I have seen it around $4 or $5 as well. Now, personally, I would use that built-in backup option from Google, and once it finally comes out on your phone, yay, Android P, I'm so excited. And be very, very careful with your phone until Android P comes out so that you don't end up losing everything again. I trust Google to do an actual encrypted backup of my phone more than I trust a third party, especially because I already know that Google successfully backs up and restores my content each and every single time I have to review a new phone or when I get a new Pixel device or whatever it might be. So I put a lot more trust in them, and I'm glad that they offer it as a free option as opposed to trusting a third party, which might or might not work.
So when I read that, I saw free software, capitalized free, capitalized software, and I didn't think free as in money. I thought free as in open source. Are there any open source Android tools for backing up your phone?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
I mean, I think SpiderOak has an app, so you could use SpiderOak. Although I don't think that one's open source either.
Yeah.
Man.
If you know of an open source tool for backing up Android, or if you got an open source tool you love and you want the entire universe to know about, because we too understand the love of free software, do us a favor, email ask@TekThing.com.
Yes.
Because we've had questions about, like, is there a...
No, it's a puzzle, and I was searching for hours for something good, and those were the only top two apps that I could find. I was like, where are they all? There must be more.
Trust Google. If you use Gmail, they already know everything about you anyway.
Yeah, basically.
I'm going to get my tinfoil hat.
Convenience over security in that case.
Security is dead.
Encrypted backups are awesome. Let us know what you think, or if you do have an application backup option for Android, I would love to know, because this is a very hard question to answer. Ask@TekThing.com, or you can tweet me @Snubs.
Do you have a digital recorder?
I do.
Actually, you do. She has this one. But if you're field recording, like radio recording or recording sounds, you're recording a professor at school or a lecture in your continuing education for your professional certification, or if you just want something that sounds better than the microphone built into your phone or your camera, check out Zoom's H1n. It's a tiny 2-ounce pocket-friendly stereo recorder and a really nice set of updates to Zoom's original H1. This is its elder sister / cousin, the H4n or H4n Pro.
Slightly bigger.
Somewhat bigger. And this is a field production tool. Producers love these.
I love it.
You want a professional, you want quality audio like us. This is what we used at CES with a couple of lav mics. That's why it has the big XLR connectors on the bottom.
That's the best part.
We love XLR, except when we don't. So the H1n weighs about 1/5 as much as the H4n. It's slimmer, it's not as fat, it fits easily in a pocket. And I actually got to say, the new guard design on this makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, protect the mics. It also costs half as much as an H4n. Now, there's no XLR jacks. You actually get this little tiny stereo 1/8" input right here if you want to use external mics or sticks. But it does actually have a lot of nice features like test tone and a slate tone generator for digital video folks. The original Zoom H1 looked really simple because all there was a single button on the front.
Oh, I remember that one.
Yeah, and then they put all the buttons on the side because inaccessible and hard to see is a really good UI thing. Well, actually,
That's great.
H1n puts all the buttons on the front, and there's actually a really, really nice dial for setting levels or gain instead of the thumb rocker that was on the side of the H1. I tended to set it low, but that's me, not the H1n. They've added a nice bright blue backlight to the screen. It's way more useful than the dull orange one. I think it was dull orange on the H1. You can also use the micro USB jack on the side of this to connect it to your PC and use it as a microphone, but most folks are going to use the little SD card slot on the side. It takes 32 gigabyte cards max, which may not sound like much, but at minimum settings,
it's a lot.
It's 555 hours of audio on
Yeah.
a 32 gigabyte micro SD card. That's at 128 kilobit MP3. Great for lectures, bad for videos. You get 15 and a half hours on a 32 gig card at max quality, which is 24-bit 96 kilohertz wave files.
Wow.
At what I would use is a normal setting, 16-bit 44.1. You'll get about 50 hours of stereo recording. Power comes from a pair of AAA batteries, and you should get about 10 hours recording per pair of batteries. Always pack a spare pair.
Yes.
Pound rechargeables.
I love rechargeable. N-loop is amazing.
Yes, there's so many loops in our lives. New microphone capsules on this. The gain is like up to plus 39 dB. They're a little less sensitive than the 4N microphones, but they are, you notice, in the same XY stereo recording configuration. And I gotta say, again, the bracket is a nice touch, especially if you loan this to your children.
Yes.
The body is really plasticky. It will transfer noise if you're not careful. It will pretty much transfer noise whenever you touch it, so you probably don't want to hand hold it.
Yeah, for sure.
I tried field recording the cat purring with the H1n on a stand. And the noise level sounds really high, but that's because I should have had the recording level much higher than I did. That's a me mistake, not an it mistake.
So what you're hearing right now is the audio recorded off of the microphone that's built into my iPhone, which is like an iPhone 6, which is kind of antiquated. What you're hearing right now is the audio that came off of the Zoom H1n, that $99 recorder I'm talking about in the review right now, just in case you were wondering what the two sound like, say an inexpensive phone versus an inexpensive dedicated recorder. Hint, one of them spent a lot more on the microphones. If you're going to use a separate recorder, it's really critical to do some kind of sync, and if you clap loud enough in a room like this, your ears will ring like mine are right now. That is a bad thing. By the way, all that audio you just heard and the clap all came off of the microphone that's built into my old iPhone 6. And what you're hearing right now is audio that's coming off of the Zoom H1n, the recording device, the field recorder, the handy recorder that I've been talking about in this review. So you're either hearing a big difference and going, wow, or you're going like, I don't need that. But we thought you'd like to hear actually what the sound coming off of the recorder sounded like.
That's why they do that, or they use the big clappy thing.
That's exactly it.
Oh my goodness.
Yay,
So,
syncing audio and video.
if they don't sync, you're going to irritate everyone.
Yep.
We've done it, trust us. For $99, I got to say this is a really good deal. It'll work to record a room, or if you use a lav mic, it's tiny enough to stuff in a pocket and not worry about it. There's a built-in speaker and a headphone jack to monitor or check your recordings. If you have the headphones on, you will hear every time you bump the enclosure, especially if you bump it hard.
Yeah.
A couple of really cool features. There's an onboard limiter to keep super loud noises like above 120 dB from crushing your recording. It's got dictation features like a voice emphasizing filter, playback speed control, so you can listen to those incredibly boring lectures much faster than you sat through them.
That's
A/B
cool.
repeat. I didn't actually try out the auto record, the pre-record, or the self-timer, because those aren't the kind of things I use, but the options are in there if you need them. Mostly, I just enjoyed the recordings. $99 available now. Props to Zoom for some solid updates to their entry-level field recording tool.
I love that.
It's a tool, not a toy.
Man.
Except in the hands of my children.
Now, of course, you know, if you're going to CES, which is a very loud place, and you need two different microphones for two different people, there's a complete and utter reason why you would spend more for an H4n. But
Yeah.
man, for like recording normal stuff every day,
I mean, if you have
cool.
mics that terminate, or that you can make terminate into like 1/8 inch,
Yeah.
you could do a splitter into the 1/8 inch stereo input and do that.
Yes.
But yeah, normally, if you're using it day in and day out, you want XLR connectors.
I love my baby H4n. Is a beauty.
This is nice. Nicer than I expected for the money.
It's very cool. Thank you,
so
Patrick.
tiny. I should just wander around recording things. It's my future, the recording of things. It's a podcast. Today's podcast, 66 minutes of chickens clucking. Yeah, gonna be huge, people. A big shout out to Hack5 for the studio space. If you haven't been there, do yourself a favor, go to hack5.org. You can see it on your screen right now. And check out the Security and Privacy Podcast. And then, ladies and gentlemen, get your gear on. Go over to hack5.org/gear and check out their pen testing and USB automation tools. My favorite is still the USB Rubber Ducky, which is not just a security and pen testing tool, but an extraordinary way to run the same update over and over again on 1 million machines. It shows up as a USB HID device, like a keyboard, and then it executes scripts at 1,000 characters per second.
It's
so
crazy.
Fast. Actually, it's really awesome. Doesn't matter if you're rooting boxes or upgrading 50 machines with a new app or a script or something. It is a slick piece of automated joy.
It's true.
It's amazing for April Fool's Day if you feel like being that guy in the office.
Yes.
I don't do it in this office because the vengeance will be much worse than anything I can dish out.
Yes, it would.
And
that would be bad.
Remember, once in a while, put down the phone, step away from the screen, close the laptop, and do something analog like...
Go to DEF CON!
Yay!
Yay, that's right. We are going to DEF CON. It is this weekend, and I am super, super excited to be there with each and every one of you that get to go as well. We are having a meetup, according to Darren at Hack5. It's going to be at 7 p.m. on Saturday night at the Wireless Village, which is in DEF CON, so you do need a wireless, or you need a DEF CON badge to be able to get into the Wireless Village. Or you could probably con your way in social engineering. I mean, it is a hacker con, so good luck. Maybe you'll get a black badge if you con your way into the con. I don't know. But don't get kicked out based on what I say. But it's over at Caesar's Palace. It's in Las Vegas. Come say hello if you see us. I'm gonna be carrying around some little swag items with me, so definitely say hi and ask for some swag.
And if for some reason it gets relocated or we get relocated, which occasionally happens in Las Vegas, we will tweet out where we is at.
Yes, we will.
Oh my goodness.
So definitely follow us on the Twitters. I will be tweeting from my personal account at Snubs with all the things, and I'm sure you'll be on your personal one as well.
Patrick Norton.
So exciting!
Oh my goodness. I'm Patrick Norton.
I'm Shannon Morse.
We'll see you next week on TekThing.
ASMR.
ASMR?
I think it's, ASMR.
Podcast. I'll do the
Well,
too
you
much
did
information
say,
podcast.
pardon me, you did say that you were going to be the new guru of recording sounds, and that is ASMR, so.
This is the sound of a diesel engine on a large tractor trailer starting up.
I mean, it's a thing.
70 glorious minutes
People
of
like
a
to
Union
listen
Civic
to
Railroad
this.
car. You said there were YouTube channels?
There are YouTube channels. I listen to people playing the Tibetan singing bowls. That's my ASMR thing.
Can't do that.
It's so fascinating.
Those things drive
it
me
just,
nuts.
oh man, it puts me to sleep. It's so great.
I will sit in the temple and listen for hours, but
Yes.
I also had I used to share a house with somebody who was like,
Oh.
instead of being
So all you
spiritual,
wanna
they
do
had a
is-
bowl and an attitude
You
problem.
want to take that bowl and go, stop!
No, the bowl did nothing to me.
Thank you everybody for watching. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
you, and thank you so much for the support on Patreon. Thank you. We'll see you next week. Bye.